So, hello everyone. Welcome back to this third Q&A session. This is a very special one, partly because we're sitting down, partly because we have two guests now, and partly because we're talking about something very important, and that's the future of education. And that is, of course, something that is very important here. The interesting thing is that Create Tomorrow is really about solving problems that combine university or hogeschool with combining with companies, with municipalities, and basically trying to solve societal issues. And that is precisely a little bit what will be done more and more in our education as well. So I'm very happy here to introduce to you Erna Engelen. She's here on behalf of the Saxion, and Rianne Kaptein on behalf of the ECIU and the University of Twente. And they're here to talk about the vision of the future of education. That is a big, grand thing, of course, but it has to do something with sustainable development goals, right?
Yes, very often.
Very often.
Very often it has something to do with that.
First of all, does education need to change? That might be a good starting point.
I think so, because the society as such is changing a lot. We do have a lot of technology developments. We do have a lot of climate things that's going on. We have people that are changing. We've got knowledge that it's changing very, very rapidly. So we really have to cope with that.
So education is sort of lagging behind, so to say? Is it just a thing of what you teach, or is it also how you teach it? Does that also need to change?
I think both ways. So it's what you teach. So it's not just knowledge, because the knowledge you teach today might be different tomorrow. So it is the knowledge, but on top of that, it is also on skills of the future people that we need to solve all the problems.
Right. And it's really something also about working together, right?
Yes, it is. What you see of on the problems of today is that they don't stop at borders. They are big problems. They are societal big problems. They cross borders, and also they require a multidisciplinary way of looking at them to actually solve them, or at least try to solve them or sub-solve them. Yes.
So the idea, for instance, if in Germany the weather changes due to climate change, that is something that will quite literally trickle down via the Rhine towards us, for instance.
Indeed, yeah. So, and therefore it's also within the ECIU University, it's also interesting to work together on a European level. So not only multidisciplinary across one university or one university of applied sciences, but also to work with a team of different nationalities.
So the ECIU, I mean, I can imagine that there are students who don't know what the ECIU is.
I can imagine as well.
Can you sort of briefly say what it is?
Of course, yes. The ECIU University is a new European university we are building from the UT, but also with our 12 alliance partners from across Europe. It's a new joint university. It will be a virtual one, which will resolve around challenge-based learning, challenge-based research, and challenge-based innovation. And micro-credentials are also playing a big role in it.
And so if you started that university, you sort of hop around different universities, for instance?
For instance, yes, we see more flexibility and more personalization is required in the future of education. So therefore, something like that in Europe would really work, we believe. That a student can look at the curricula of all those universities and see a learning path of specific to their needs. Yes.
Nice. Is there some sort of common ground? Because we mention a whole lot of things, like it needs to be more interdisciplinary. That is something that you see at research as well. NWO, who hands out the money, really requires many disciplines to come together. But also about companies and universities. And it's also being more flexible maybe in what you teach, because things might be outdated later on. What is, with all these big things, there's sort of a risk of wanting to do too much at the same time. So what do we need to change first? Is there sort of an idea what to...
I don't know. I think you have to focus on one of the ideas that can help to do that. So we, for instance, at Saxion University of Applied Science, we do have a smart solutions semester where around 1,200 students, as per September, work in interdisciplinary teams from 28 different courses.
Wow.
And they work together in groups on challenges. And they don't get any lessons, so they have to find all the knowledge they need themselves.
So
And-
that's pretty much like this day, for instance. Sort
Yeah,
of.
it's pretty much like the day, but they have a half a year to do that.
Ah.
So they can really do something. It's not just the idea to come up with, but it's also making it and maybe make a marketing plan out of it to see if it is if you can commercialize it. So it is it's quite a lot.
So this is problem-based learning, right?
Yeah, there is a
Or
problem. There's a challenge.
Challenge-based.
challenge-based
Yeah.
learning. I mean, every
Challenge-based.
university has
Yeah.
a different. I mean,
Doesn't matter.
But it's at least it's an actual thing that you work on. That's basically the premise, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And how do you fit in? I mean, I, for instance, studied physics and at the University of Twente, and at the beginning there was just a lot of math and a lot of sort of grunt work that you need to do before you can actually do something.
Yeah.
For instance, is it possible with all the studies to be more problem-based?
That's a challenge in itself, but we at Saxion, we go from the fact that the first 2 years you get the basic knowledge.
All right.
And after that you have enough knowledge and you have a good attitude to find the rest of the knowledge you need for your project to do it like that.
And what do you see as a difference for these students? How do they respond to this problem-based learning? Is it something that I can imagine it's a lot of fun?
Yeah, what we see.
No, go
Okay.
right.
Yeah, what we see is that students actually want to contribute and have an impact to society. And that in challenge-based learning they really can have, because it resolves around a real challenge that exists with a real challenge provider or challenge owner, someone who has the problem. And they can take that problem a step further towards a solution or actually provide a solution. And that's why students really, really like working challenge-based.
And it's nice, I can imagine that if you think of something that it's just not, it doesn't end up somewhere in a drawer
Yeah,
at
that's
a
true.
From a
a
shelf,
lecturer or a professor's cabinet, but it's really something.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At Saxion it's a little bit different because the students, they are forced to do it. And they are in the 3rd or 4th year, and until then they have those very strict lessons, the very strict tests, and they know exactly what to do.
Sure.
So they're very used to do that.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they have to come up with individual learning goals, they have to come up with professional learning goals, they have to work together with people they don't know and maybe do not like. So it is a challenge for a lot of them, but it depends a lot from where they come from. And a lot of our students really like it. They like to really, like you say, they like to contribute to all the problems, but there is a group of students that really think it's difficult. But we have to work on that in the first 2 years. We still have to work on that.
But it's good to have sort of the realization how difficult it might be with the working together, etc. During your 3rd year than when you just start in a company. For instance.
Exactly.
Indeed, yeah.
Normally you get the same experience when you are working already, and then it's not, and now you can practice and you can really find
Develop
out
your
and
skills
develop your
as-
skills
and competences.
and know where you're good
Yeah.
at and know where you're bad at, and know how difficult it is to cooperate with that kind of person or with that kind of person.
These are the years that you can freely fall on your
Yeah.
butt. And
Indeed.
that's better than when
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
on the outside world.
And we can help, If
Yes.
it's good and you have a good coach, the coach can help you.
Indeed, yeah.
And do you have an example of a case like with the Sustainable Development Goals or something? What does it look like?
Yeah, it differs a lot. We work, in fact, 2/3 of our projects we have right now, they have a certain connection with the Sustainable Development Goals. And don't ask me exactly what they are, but I know that it's 2/3 of them. And we have, for instance, we have a very nice artificial grass in South Africa to prevent the water falling down, but to keep it in the field. Don't ask me the technical details because I don't know. But it's also
Prevent the water from escaping, basically.
Yes. And what's especially very difficult there is how to teach the persons over there how to cope with that.
Enroll the local communities.
Yes. But we also had a very nice assignment from a company, a client in The Hague, and they wanted to get students from higher education more connected to the politics, which is also very interesting, of course. And they thought like, okay, make a flyer, make a website, make etc. And the students themselves, they say like, no flyer, no website, we're going to make a game. So they made a sort of very nice artificial game where you are sort of in the municipality, difficult word, municipality, you're there and then you have to make decisions. And then what's happening afterwards when you made that decision. So they really came up with a very nice idea and the client was very surprised. And that is what young students can do. And that is so nice.
Indeed.
Well, especially, I mean, if you want to address younger people, I mean, I work for TV and that we have the similar problem of all, I'm already quite old in that sense, and we want to enroll younger generations. I mean, you need the younger generation to know how you communicate to the younger generation, basically.
Yeah.
And how do you, because we're talking about education, you need to change the teachers as well, because there used to be an idea of a gilde system. I don't know what the translation is, but you have a master and a pupil, and the pupil gets taught what the master needed to be taught when he was a student, and that worked for generations. But now the world changes within one generation. So how do you prepare teachers for that?
Yes, in challenge-based learning, teachers have a different role. They are more becoming a coach of the students. So, and because you work with multidisciplinary teams, one teacher can't have all the knowledge, all the disciplinary knowledge that is required to solve the challenge. So the teacher has more of a coaching needs to have more of a coaching method to really make sure that the students do gain the knowledge that they need to solve the challenge, but it's not within that teacher. So the role does change, and we at the UT and at the ECIU University have educational experts to train the teachers to become more of a coach.
So if you want to teach the students to become and work more interdisciplinary, the teachers need to work more disciplinary as well within their own sphere.
That as well, true. Yeah.
And they have to be, what's very important as well is that they have to be interested in the project itself, themselves.
Yes.
So they really, they like to cooperate and learn as well, just like the students.
So it's been a theme all through this day that you need to be interested basically in the other party, in the company, in the municipality, in the university, in what drives them, what makes them tick and what they need, and just have these stakeholders sort of communicate and understand each other. That is basically the most important premise, I assume. Thank you so much, both of you, for giving a glimpse or a tiny glimmer of the education of the future. It's something that we can debate in whole conferences, I would say, and you're doing that, I assume. So thank you so much for being here. You at home, you have now, let's see, 2 hours and 15 minutes left. So I would say chop, chop, go on with your assignment, and hopefully you will have a wonderful finished project at 5 o'clock. So good luck these last 2 hours and 15 minutes.